to supposedly represent them and their hateful views of races. Please believe me when I say that to the overwhelming majority of Southerners, the flag represents no such thing, but is simply a banner denoting an area of the nation and one's pride in living there. I know there will be those who will take these words of mine, try to twist them and call them insincere, and try to make what I've said here some kind of anti-black racial statement. But I tell you, everybody who reads this article, I come up in the days of cruel racial prejudice and Jim Crow laws, when the courts were tilted against any black man, when the segregated educational system was inferior, and when opportunities for blacks to advance were almost non-existent. I lived through the useless cruelty of those days, and I did not get my feelings out of some sensitivity class or social studies course, but made my own decisions out of the experience and disgust. I hold no ill feelings and have no axes to grind with my brothers and sisters of any color. The same God made us. The same God will judge us. And I pray that He will intervene in the deep racial divide we have in this nation and make each person, black or white, see each other for what we truly are. Human beings. No better, no worse. It's time to do away with labels. Caucasian American, African American, Asian American, Native American, so forth. How about just a simple American? That's it. That's what Charlie Daniels had to say, and I can't possibly agree more. Like I said, I had spent most of the day yesterday writing something along those times. I had listened into a couple of broadcasts over at BTR, Don Smith's show in particular, and I was working on show prep for today and working on that while I was listening in, and I heard some good points there, and I knew we were going to be talking about this to some extent continued, but the time has arrived, so I was working on that, and then I come across this today, and I'm thinking to myself, he hit everything I wanted to say, probably just a little bit better than I was trying to say it, and the points are dead on. Charlie Daniels got it right. You can find that article, linked to Chicks on the Right, if you're looking to read it for yourself or want to do any other follow-up with it, just to give full credit and full props. But that, to me, that's an amazing statement as far as getting it right. Because there is no question, the majority of people in the South have no interest whatsoever in perpetuating racism. Obviously, there are some that do. Obviously, there are some things that we can't change. We can't change the hearts and minds of individuals without concerted effort and a long time of showing them love. What we saw in Charleston, South Carolina, when we saw forgiveness, and we saw the love of Christ on exhibit. And it's only through actions like that that we're going to be able to move forward when it comes to facing the folks that are still filled with hate. In the meanwhile, such ridiculous things as Walmart now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, I want to mention this, but the Young Cons, which is short for conservatives, did this little test, and they called up about a dozen Walmarts easy for me to say, called up about a dozen Walmarts, and in each case, they had different people at different points in time order cakes with the Confederate flag on it, and then order cakes with the flag of ISIS on it. And not a single Walmart would sell them a cake with the Confederate flag on it, per the new policy. Okay, fair enough. Walmart doesn't want to make a penny off of it anymore. That's okay. But there was only one Walmart that had the least bit of problem with decorating a cake with an ISIS flag on top of it. That is right up there with the fact that you can go to Amazon.com right now and you can't find a Confederate flag anywhere, but you still can find a ton of Nazi flags. Nazi paraphernalia. The hypocrisy knows no bounds. And in the end, this is still just a distraction. Please pay attention to the Confederate flag. Please don't pay attention to the fact that Homeland Security and the FBI has raised our terror alert to high alert. Because we're in Ramadan, and because we're at the anniversary of the foundation of the Caliphate, and because we're close to the 4th of July. This is why we need to be concerned, because we saw, whether it was an organized attack or pure coincidence, 3 attacks on the same day around the world. All of them clearly terrorist in nature. All of them clearly with links to ISIS. In France, Tunisia, and Kuwait. Meanwhile, we have the Pope telling us that we can't be gun owners and still be Christians without being hypocrites. And we also have the Pope trying to convince us that man-caused climate change is the real thing and blah, blah, blah. Hello, Pope. You're supposed to be making sure that the Catholic Church is following the teachings of Christ. I don't see the teachings of Christ in statements like that. But that, neither here nor there. Let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick break, and then after the break, we're going to go ahead and shift into the topics here. That, of course, being first and foremost, right off the top, we're going to talk about Janet-Napolitano and her diligent work at UC Berkly. So stay with me, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. We are back here live and direct, although you'll probably be catching us on the podcast. So let me go ahead and thank everybody who has been listening. Really excited about the numbers as they are coming back. Our broadcast just earlier this week that was in response to the release of the Obamacare decision on the night of is absolutely setting records across all of the formats that the show can be found. Again, leading the way is Stitcher and iTunes, but also a pretty big jump over at YouTube, I've noticed as of late as well. So I want to thank everybody who's listening and everybody who's sharing the show. As the show continues to grow and the audience continues to grow, I hope that you'll continue to move forward with me and accept my battle cry here of standing up. All right, now, one of the things that we're going to have to start standing up against is the absolute threat that we're facing. It's more than just the transformation that's already taken place. It's also the transformation that continues, because we're talking about a situation at University of California at Berkeley, UC Berkly. I think I called it USC Berkeley earlier. Apologies. But at UC Berkly, Janet-Napolitano is the new president. She's been there for a little bit at this point. And we're seeing this very disturbing thing happen there. I'm sure that this isn't the only place this is happening, but there are memos that were leaked here. It would appear that despite that being 50 years removed from the birth of the free speech movement at Berkeley, we now have officials across the University of California system encouraging faculty and students to purge potentially offensive words and phrases from their vocabularies. Let me lay this out for you, real simple and succinct. This is the way tyranny is run once they feel like they have a foothold. First, they ban words. Then they ban phrases, because phrases start to represent ideas. Next comes the banning of books and book burnings, and we've seen this play out. And I think we all know what happens after that. Then they shout you down, and they tell you to shut up, and then they try to beat you down if you're still standing, and then they execute you. We have seen this in Nazi Germany. We have seen this under Mao. We've seen this over and over again throughout history, if you care to look. Now, the administrators are trying to use the band of racist and sexist statements, use that label. They're real good at making labels, aren't they? Trying to label these phrases in such a fashion so that everyone would naturally comply. Because nobody wants to be a racist. Nobody wants to be a sexist. So the administrators want members of the campus to avoid using racist and sexist statements, though their notions about what kinds of statements qualify, well, you judge for yourself. Let's start with the one that is at the top of everybody's list who's come across this information. Get this? One of these statements, one of the phrases that must be banned: America is a melting pot. At one point in time, that was a selling point for coming here. If you were in another nation and you wanted to get an opportunity to do better than you could do where you were at, you came to the United States, and you did so because it was a melting pot. Because you had the opportunity to join a different culture. Because you had an opportunity to be something more than you could have been at home, and it was because of diversity and the fact that you would be accepted as an American, because everybody just melted together, accepted the new norm, and became American. Now, how is that racist? Well, according to the people on the left, that means you have to, well, you have to acquiesce to the new culture. You have to, heaven help you, adjust and interact. You have to embrace. Which means that you can't hold so desperately to your old ways. You can't expect the guy down at the DMV to speak Spanish so you can get your driver's license. You can't expect the guy that's issuing the marriage licenses over at the county courthouse to speak Swahili. You It's apparent upon you, it's incumbent upon you to step up, learn the language in which business is conducted in, and then behave appropriately.